Hello, I'm Moderator, joined once again by CCP Fozzie for this match between Paisti Syndicate and the Dream Fleet. Paisti Syndicate have brought a Augurer, that's Dream Fleet. Fozzie?
Yeah, Dream Fleet has brought double Barghest, double Rook, dodging the ECM bans, Prophecy, Augurer, Manticore, and double Nemesis. All armor tank, by the way. So armor tank Barghest, armor tank Rooks, armor tanked Manticores and Nemesis. That means a lot of free mid slots, probably for tracking disruptors.
And Paisti has actually brought in Oneros, 2 Harbinger Navy issues, 2 Astartes, a Spiteful, another Spiteful, 2 Heretics, and a Vigil.
Yeah, both these teams came in all the way at max range from each other, so there's quite a bit of distance here. What do you think about this Rook pick from the Dream Fleet guys?
So you can see Paisti Syndicate banned out the Blackbird and the Kitsune. That forces Dream Fleet, if they want to bring ECM, they have to either bring a Griffin, not very survivable, or they have to bring Rooks. Rooks are very heavy on points, and we can see that as a result, they've only brought 9 players. They just don't have enough points to fill out the rest of their comp.
Yeah, these are rapid heavy Barghest. They're going to have to get in close. These Astartes and Navy Harbingers are long range fit. They're actually going to outrange the Barghest. So we're going to see whether the Barghest can actually get within range to do damage before they start to lose things. Already missile disruptors onto those 2 Barghest. Great choice from Paisti Syndicate. And tracking disruptors going the other way, as kind of you'd expect. Manticore down. This is what you'd get with these battle cruisers. And just like the Navy battle cruisers, the Astartes fit into that setup really well as well. They armor tank really well. They work well with rails, do a lot of damage, and you can fit links on them. Really a great choice there. So even banning out the Brutix, you can still actually bring a Galente option without even having to move over to the Hurricane.
Yeah, these are going to be rail Astartes combined with the Navy Harbingers. They're just absolutely shredding through these bombers. Yep. Now that they've got the missile guidance computers onto the Barghest are going to do so much less damage. The real damage of this setup, though, in the bombers is dropping, and the Rooks just do no damage. The Prophecy is going to be there for links, and they've only got an Augurer.
All right, here's what really confuses me. These Barghests are not moving. They haven't moved yet this entire match. They're standing still. They're pulling a Rote Capel. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if these guys disconnected or if they just have fallen asleep, but they are not moving. They're not firing. They have their sensor boosters active. This is Dream Fleet. They're just going to get torn apart here. They need these Barghests in the fight, and the Barghests are not doing anything. I don't understand what's going on here. 2 players disconnecting seems like too much to really believe.
Yeah, that's rather strange. I'm not sure quite what's going on there. We can see that one of the Nemesis is taking damage. He's getting reps, but an Augurer doesn't do nearly as much as either an Oneros or a Guardian to repair that bomber.
Yeah, nothing mentioned in local about what's going on. We're going to have to ask these guys after the match. But Paisti in a dominant position here. Already got 2 of the bombers down. And just, there are these people taking some damage now, so that's going to be a potential first kill for Dream Fleet. But the Oneros isn't actually jammed. He is getting reps on him. We'll see how long he can stay up.
Yeah, good to mention the jams. The 2 Rooks are spreading their jams well across the board. They're ignoring the Astartes, which is a good pick, actually. Command ships having a very high native sensor strength. Maybe not having those racial jammers means that your jams aren't good to put on them. They're putting them onto the faction, battle cruisers, the Spitefulls, and the Vigil, which won't quite have the same sensor strength. Banning the Logi is also a good pick so that you can maybe catch a Spiteful out.
Yeah, this Augurer for Dream Fleet is way in the back line, and because of their kind of long-range setup, Paisti doesn't really want to move around. They don't want to send these peoples all the way around the back line. They're actually keeping them back, defending their own guys. Still no action at all from these Barghests. So that actually means this Augurer is able to just keep repping, and Paisti's having a hard time breaking these Rooks. Rooks, of course, not known for their armor tank, but actually can do a decent enough job in this case. They're light missile fits. They've got a lot of power grid available for plates, and holding on really well. So we'll have to see whether Paisti can actually break them or whether they have to send the Sveeples around to tackle.
Now, the Nemesis isn't into low armor. He's catching reps, but the Nemesis only has 2 low slots for tank, and I'm not really sure about that pick. Maybe they could have gone with either a Purifier or a Hound that can do a 3-slot tank and survive a bit better against the long-range damage.
I think this Dream Fleet team, though, it really wanted to use these unbonused mid-slots. So for them, they actually would rather have the extra mid-slots on the bombers and just use range to tank. Obviously, it didn't work great in this case, although they hold on okay with the Nemesis, than have the extra low slot for the tank. It's a trade-off you can make. I can see both options being really viable. It just kind of depends on what you're looking to emphasize more. This Rook just still holding on. The Paisti Syndicate guys just are sending all of their rail and beam damage into it, but it is not dying yet. In about half armor now, and we'll see if they can actually break through it. If they can break through it, that's going to probably increase their DPS and really allow them to snowball.
I would like to see maybe if they can't break the rook, switch off to the augur. The augur is not going to be nearly well as tanked. Once you kill the rep drones, once the augur falls, you can just kill the rooks anyway. You're not taking a lot of damage, so it's not so critical that you kill the rook to get the jams off of you. So far, Paisti is holding just fine.
Yeah, the problem is the augur is actually far enough back that I think I guess they can reach it. Yeah, the augur probably would be a fine choice in this case. You'd probably be able to track it at this range. It's far back, but it can't go too much further without getting out of the arena. So yeah, I think that would be an excellent choice. They are breaking this rook slowly. The rook is down to about 1/3 armor now, bouncing back up a little bit though. And still nothing from the Bargus. This is one of those kind of unbelievable things to see. The two faction battleships from Dreamfleet have been AFK for this entire match.
Yeah, this is beyond strange. We've got one of the bombers down for Dreamfleet, but then Bargus are still at 0 meters a second. You're just not doing anything. They're getting missile guidance disrupted, but that doesn't mean they still shouldn't be shooting.
They are still in local chat, so they haven't disconnected. If you disconnect during the fight, your ship won't disappear because you're essentially warp scrambled by the arena. But they are still in local. These guys haven't disconnected. They're just not doing anything, not moving, not firing. I really don't understand it. It looks like they're taking your advice, moderator. Maybe they just are watching the stream and getting FC'd here by the commentators. Paisti Syndicate decided to give up on the rook. They're switching over to the augur, and we'll see if they can break through it. The augur does have rep drones, I believe, on it, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Probably because, you know what they were probably relying on? Rep drones from those Bargus to help out, and they haven't launched any drones.
Yeah, without the rep drones from the Bargus, it's just not enough. They need the heavy bandwidth from the two bays, and without that, they got the paint on, so the damage will track just fine. And with that, the augur is into low armor, and he's going to pop pretty soon.
In fact, actually, they had a bunch of rep drones out from the other ships, but they just now switched the rep drones over to the augur. Really slow reaction time getting those rep drones over to the augur. They had been on the rook, and I think it's going to be too little too late, as this augur is already in low armor, but he does have rep drones on him now, so we'll see if he can hold on.
To his credit, the augur is burning out pretty hard. He's now just about to pop.
Yeah, he's going to pop. Vigil, on the other hand, is dropped from Paisti, which will make it a bit harder to track that augur. I still think it's not going to be enough. There we go. So we did get some blood here from Dreamfleet. They were able to take down a Vigil. They're going to get a Sweeple now, it looks like. There we go. But with the augur down, I imagine the rooks are going to fall very quickly.
I'm just curious how the rooks were able to break through his Sweeple without the Bargus actually applying any sort of damage to him. That's a little bit strange that even without the Oniris being able to lock you being jammed, you should be able to run away from the rook's damage.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, actually, the Bargus are firing now. They're still not moving. Why are they not moving?
That's so curious to me.
They're missile ships. They don't need to worry about their own tracking.
So now that the Bargus are here, they're finally able to break through the Sweeples. The damage that they've been able to apply combined with the rooks is enough to break through when the Oniris is jammed. So now what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to kill the heretics and the other light damage that could hit them at range and get some points on the board, seeing as it's so close. If they can kill the heretic, they'll be up on points, but it won't matter too much as a rook's about to fall on their side.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get the small ships. My guess here is that they didn't want to move for some reason. It was maybe part of some kind of strategy not to move. I can't imagine what that would be. And they weren't able to shoot at the beginning of the match because of the fact that they were missile disrupted. And so now they're moving. There we go. Lorena Lee has actually started to move now. He's going to try to get himself into a better position. He's chasing down on Astarte. Was this some kind of like surprise? They were trying to make it look like they were AFK to lull the enemy into a false security. Probably a bad strategy because you lost your almost entire team in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the losers bracket. I don't know what kind of clowny things they were going up to. I think it's just more likely that there was some kind of a malfunction on their end.
Maybe an emergency they needed to deal with at home. Who knows? We'll probably find out. I imagine people are going to post in local or post on the forums afterwards. Yeah, second rook down. The Bargus are now active, so we are seeing damage applied to the Astarte for Paisti Syndicate, but I have a hard time imagining Dreamfleet can pull it back here. These Bargus are armor Bargus, remember, not a ton of buffer, so they're going to be in trouble once the damage starts being applied to them.
Now that the Oniris is unjammed because the rook is unfortunately dead for Dreamfleet, I would think that they'd be able to keep the Astar up, but it looks like they've neuted off his links and his hardeners, and without those hardeners, he's going to have a massive explosive hole, and the Bargus are just pushing right through it.
All right, so this Astarte is going to die. In the meantime, we're going to see how well this Bargus armor tank holds up without a Augurer on him. So we have the first Bargus of Lorena Lee entering armor now. If he does have a significant buffer, like if this guy can actually tank for a while, then we might be able to pull it back. Man, it would be amazing if Dreamfleet can pull this back.
So Dreamfleet is making a very good call right now. They're primarying one of the Navy Harbingers, and that's just enough points for them to go up. They'll be up 50 to 46 points if they can kill him in the next 50 seconds without their own Bargus dropping.
Oh, wow, this Harbinger just needs to survive. This is amazing that we've gotten to this point, considering that these Bargus did nothing for the vast majority of the match. But the Navy Harbinger of Poo there is just in half armor now. He has 30 seconds he needs to survive, and they're going to try to take back the Bargus at the same time. He does have the Neros wrapping him. I think he's going to survive. I think Paisti's going to take this on points.
So critically, Dreamfleet has made a misplay. They have their newts onto the other Navy Harbinger. What they need is they need to shut off any sort of hardeners that this Navy Harbinger had, and without it, he might have fell. But unfortunately for them, all his hardeners will remain active. The Oneros can then keep him up, and two Bargus aren't going to be enough to break him. So
yeah, weirdly they have their newts split. But yeah, they've got some on the Astarte, some on the Navy Harbinger. I'm not sure why they decided to split them up that way, but yeah, time is now up, and that is a victory for Paisti Syndicate in a really wild match. I'm not entirely sure what happened with those Bargus, but Paisti Syndicate takes the win and will move on and face the Loraccords later in the day.
Yeah, it looks like Dreamfleet dropped their spaghetti.
And Paisti Syndicate's a nightmare for the Dreamfleet, dropping them out of Alliance Tournament 14, sending them home only with the mediocre prizes afforded to those who made it to the top 16. Paisti moving forward, they will face Valoria Accords later on today after the break. Those Barguests not moving an inch for the beginning of the fight. There were some flashback episodes happening at the other end of this desk. Garayan, tell me a little bit about how important it is to maintain speed in the Alliance Tournament.
I think from my previous experience, it's really friggin' important.
To move the ships.
Really, guys? 0 meters a second after that. Oh, my goodness.
I have to hope that they live in the same house and that one of them had a baby at the moment.
The other one had a baby.
There must be a story there, and we do look forward to hearing what exactly it is.
I am very much looking forward to it, because at least now that monkey isn't on just our backs.
Well, indeed, it's a difficult burden to bear.
It's a pretty fun scarlet letter to wear.
Zarvox, what do we see happening?
No damage from the Bargas is obviously a big deal. Them representing a huge amount of damage with rapid heavy missile fit, apparently according to Fozzie. So the burst damage that they're able to put out is immense, even with, much better application than cruisers or torps. They were disrupted by clearly putting out at least some damage there. Would have made a big difference in the fight. A
great indicator of that, the tournament UI showing that attack bar well below its potential.
Far below, and the fact that those two ships represent the vast majority of damage of their side. So, who could say how that fight would have gone if whatever was causing those bargs to stop shooting was a little bit different.
You saw how quickly they went through that Astarte.
Yeah, once
Imagine
they,
if they'd actually
once they
done
fired
something.
up,
I mean,
they were good to go.
They're rapid heavies, okay? So the burst damage and the application compared to the other battleship weapons is massive, not requiring anywhere near as much control from their support to be able to apply.
And the Barghest itself is a very positional ship. You can just move it in where it needs to be. It's very fast. The Flattle ship is quick.
And it's
It's the pancake smasher. Yeah, I mean, you can just get going and
big range.
Yeah, all the mortar ships are like that.
Let's take a look at that damage deficit here on the aftermatch summary. Yeah. 94,000. That's it. Those Barghests not dealing anything.
There were some other interesting things that I took from that fight. Firstly, Paisti spreading the damage between the bombers of Dreamfleet. So from the beginning, you could see that they were firing on all 3 of the bombers of Dreamfleet, and the logistics just wasn't able to handle the fact that all of them were being fired on. However, one pilot, Ress, I don't know the full name, but he really demonstrated how important piloting is when you're in these small ships, these small fast ships. The other 2 bombers went down very, very quickly, and he was able to, you could see his velocity at all times was really high. He started taking damage at various points in the fight, but he survived for a very long time. And we weren't able to see exactly, but really top piloting, or I would assume is more comfortable with maintaining transversal and reducing the incoming damage. And perhaps the other 2 bomber pilots can learn a lot from that guy.
Oh, do you see that double Astarte, double Narb showing up?
We will see that a lot.
And the damage from if the bombers aren't moving. So the rails from the Astarte, which are, the Astartes are almost definitely going to be rail fit. The Navy halves are probably going to be beam fit. And these don't track so well against smaller targets, even at range. If the bomber pilots were able to move around a little bit more, perhaps it would have gone a bit different. But at the end of the day here, even if they had have piloted perfectly, I think without the 2 Barghests using their offensive weaponry, it wouldn't have made a difference.
I think surprising that it went as far as it did, actually.
Yeah.
Like there was a moment there where you thought,
maybe they can bring it back.
Can they do that? Can Jay come back?
That was the most interesting thing, is the fact that they were out to lunch for so long and it still came back and it still came down to the wire.
And look at that burst damage. The Paisti still had their logistics ship, and it just wasn't able to keep up that Astarte. Imagine if the 2 Bargs were able to just melt through both of the Astartes really quickly, no more links, no more rail damage. Astarte can do pretty serious damage with rails. It would have been a completely different fight. I'm a bit disappointed that didn't turn into a real biff.
How much does this conversation mirror your what if conversation?
No, thankfully our issue was a tactical miscalculation on timing, but this was clearly a case of, at least from what we can see here. Hello.
Of course, great fun to conjecture, to offer up a theoretical situation about what would have been, what could have been, what might have been, what should have been.
A dream, if you would say.